What's up everyone, Zack Snyder's Justice League is out now and today we're going to be reviewing that film. If you want to know what I thought of the 2017 theatrical cut, I've just uploaded a video of what went wrong, scene by scene breakdown, going through it and picking out all its flaws. I'll put the link somewhere up here if you want to go and check that out first, but we're going to dive straight in. There will be spoilers in this review, guys, but I don't think there's any major spoilers because the film still very much follows the same plot as the 2017 version. It's just executed and built up to a lot stronger. But yeah, that's your spoiler warning. But let's start by talking about the characters, because every character gets an arc in this film, and the characters who are most shortchanged in the 2017 theatrical cut are the ones who shine the strongest here. Flash and Cyborg are crucial to this film. Rather than just being, expendable add-ons like they were in the 2017 film, here they are what the entire group hinges on. Cyborg is the emotional epicenter of this film. Everything else orbits him. And for Flash, his skills are ultimately what saved the day in the final battle. If you've seen my other video about the 2017 cut, you'll know that one of my criticisms with that was that there's no sense of development to Flash's speed and his skills. But here, all his kind of rookie energy and his tripping over builds up to this phenomenal final action sequence that really showcases who the Flash can be. Cyborg's line at the end of the film, I'm not broken, I'm not alone, it really summarizes his character arc about him who, a secluded individual who shut himself away from the world after losing his mum and kind of isolating his dad, and coming to find solidarity in the other members of the Justice League who are kind of outsiders like him. And Flash's line in the middle of the Speed Force, make your own past, make your own future, being that kind of man is the master of your own fate vibe, but also linking that with his ability to run faster than time itself. Batman is also corrected massively in this film. He's no longer cracking jokes left, right and centre that ruin the scene tonally. Here he's still a kind of stoic presence, but responsible for uniting the League. And he contributes a lot more in the action sequences, which was one of my main gripes with the 2017 cut. He definitely doesn't have as much character development in this film as he did in Batman vs Superman, but that's the thing, his development is coming off of that film and we're seeing a new side to Bruce Wayne, the kind of optimist who's moving away from that lone wolf alpha vibe and now being the alpha of a pack. I wouldn't say Wonder Woman's arc differs massively in this film, but her sheer presence on screen does. She carries all the action sequences, and Wonder Woman gets a really incredible theme in the score that comes in whenever she's about to do something badass, and it just complements her being the strongest fighter of the team. You feel a real sense of impact whenever she's about to take on Steppenwolf. Aquaman is good. I'd say Aquaman, again, as he was in the 2017 version, is the character who feels the most shortchanged. He's still this outsider who doesn't fully assimilate into the group, and that is part of his arc, but because of that he also doesn't get as much attention within the group dynamic. That being said, we do find out where he gets his armor and his trident from. One of the things I criticized in the 2017 version. There's a lovely scene with him and Volko, played by Willem Dafoe, who kind of hints at his destiny, and that was played a lot better here. I didn't like the scene between him and Mira in the 2017 version because it just felt like it was this one scene that was trying to shoehorn a load of backstory in, whereas here there's a few more scenes that kind of tease his reluctance to be part of the Atlantean people, and it makes his reluctance all the more compelling. And what Zack Snyder masterfully does is creates all these characters who are individually withdrawn from the worlds that they're in, who come together to fight something else. And it works. It doesn't feel cheesy or corny like it did in the 2017 cut. Here it feels organic. The group doesn't necessarily become best friends all of a sudden, but there's a mutual respect and everyone has their individual skill that they bring to the table. Superman's return was also massively improved. In my other video, I talked about how the justification for bringing him back undermined the entirety of the film because it was basically, we've fought Steppenwolf without Superman, we can't do it, bring Superman back, let him do it, which just eradicates any need for the rest of the Justice League members to be present apart from to revive Superman. It invalidates their existence within this film, whereas in the Snyder Cut, Superman's resurrection is brought about in conversation because it's what awoke the mother boxes, and so it's from a very practical standpoint of the mother boxes fear Superman. So there's a very rational and logical reason to bringing Superman back, beyond the fact that it isn't just we're weak and powerless, bring back the Kryptonian. And that also goes for the final action sequence as well. You know, Superman does get his epic moment where he returns and just easily overpowers Steppenwolf, but he doesn't steal the thunder. You know, Wonder Woman and Aquaman especially get the chance to showcase that, you know, Superman doesn't necessarily do this all by himself, and there's a great little like hat trick moment between the three of them where they just kind of bat away Steppenwolf to the next person. So Superman's entry in the final battle is more about contributing to the team rather than saving and dominating the team. And we got a nice moment between him and Lois Lane in the Clark Kent house, which we needed in the original cut. In the original cut, we just got 2 scenes of them in the field and then Superman flew off. Here we get Superman kind of reminiscing about his home, about his mum and dad. Then we see him going to the Kryptonian mothership and reminiscing about his Kryptonian heritage. And then he goes to Alfred. So his rediscovery of self is a lot more fleshed out and feels a lot more empowered, especially because of the score again that brings back those classic Man of Steel themes. Also need to shout out Lois Lane in this film. One of my criticisms of the original cut as well was that it made Lois Lane as a character fail to exist independent of Superman. Well, this film shows a lot more of her adjusting to a life without him and struggling to move on. And it's weird because just as she accepts that she's moved on, Superman comes back. So it still kind of hinders her development in that way, but there's a lot more focus to her as an individual character in this film, which was nice to see. So now let's talk about the villains. Steppenwolf massively improved. Visually, he is a force to be reckoned with, and we get quite a few more scenes of him, especially in the first half of the film, explaining his motivations. In the back half of the film, he does just become relegated to this brute who needs beating up. It's kind of like the difference between Thanos in Infinity War and Thanos in Endgame. In the first film and the first half of this film, he's a very complex character. In the second film and the second half of this film, he's literally just a physical adversary to beat. But a massive improvement over the version we did get, obviously. And, you know, there is a brutality to the action sequences because of his appearance. Darkseid is a letdown, only in that the trailers hype him up to be in it a lot more than he is, I think. And I think pretty much everything you see of Darkseid in the trailer is what you get of him in the film. He's really not in it for that much. He's in it for a brief vision of the future that Cyborg gets when he's separating their mother boxes and kind of foreshadowing the future Justice League sequels. And we get an incredible moment at the end, which I loved, this kind of Mexican standoff through this intergalactic portal where the Justice League just stare down Darkseid and decide. Yeah, that was a really good moment. Obviously, this film was about setting him up as a villain rather than establishing him as a villain, which is why I'm not going to get nitpicky over his kind of motivations as a villain, which seem a bit thin at the moment. Realistically, if Zack Snyder got to make the sequels, he'd develop him a lot more. But ultimately, yeah, don't watch this film for Darkseid. He's just a kind of little added tease at the end rather than a contributing factor here. Other things I loved about this film, the score, fantastic. There's such a good theme for the Justice League that kind of gets teased in the early hours of the film and then comes out full force once they unite in the final battle. But you can tell it just adds so much to a scene. Like Superman's return, it amplifies that scene massively. Whenever Wonder Woman gets a solo moment in the film with her action sequences, her theme just cuts in. Flash's Speed Force scene was incredible because of the score that just heightened the stakes with that. Love Jeremy Irons as Alfred. There were some really great moments of him. Also got to give credit to the actors playing Cyborg's mum and dad. They really got a chance to shine in this film and were a massive contributing factor to the kind of emotional impact that his story has throughout the film. Few things that I didn't like. Weirdly, the length did not bother me at all. You know, I went into this thinking no film needs to be 4 hours long, but this didn't feel like 4 hours. Like it was paced so well. The chapters probably helped, but I did watch it all in one go. It was very well written, very well paced. The action was punctuated well enough throughout. The 4 hours really flew by, and that's saying something because, you know, all of the Lord of the Rings extended editions, you feel like you're watching a long film. Even Avengers Endgame at times, you feel like you're watching a long film, whereas this just didn't. And I think it helps because you're being introduced to a lot of new characters, so you want to spend more time with them. Maybe a bit too much slow motion at times. Zack Snyder definitely has a soft spot for slow-mo, which I don't mind. But I don't think it always adds to an action sequence. There was a real kind of chaos and energy and urgency to a lot of his action sequences in this film that raised the stakes from the 2017 version, but sometimes that was hindered by, overplaying a slow motion shot just because it looks cool. When you get Wonder Woman's first action sequence with the terrorists in London and the speed and ferocity that she just comes in, you kind of wish there's less slow motion in the action, because there's just such an impact to watching it play out in real time. From a narrative point of view, I don't think the epilogue was necessary. And it's weird because it's the only new footage I think they shot was with Batman and Joker in the nightmare sequence. And I get why they did it. If this is Zack Snyder's last hurrah, he doesn't want to leave any stone unturned if this is the last time he gets to direct these characters. Fully understand that. But the Batman and Joker scene in the nightmare vision, it didn't really have the impact that Batman's nightmare sequence had in Batman vs Superman. I think part of that is structurally, because they've put it at the end, it does just feel like a loose end they wanted to fit in. But also the way it's filmed, and it's filmed like that because the actors were filming on different days, so there's actually no moment where these two characters, when Ben Affleck and Jared Leto, are together on screen. So because of that, we get a lot of intense close-ups of Batman and the Joker in this scene. And to me, all it kind of does is expose the fact that it's just chopping two different characters together to make a cohesive scene. You don't get the sense of presence of seeing these two on screen together because they're never on screen together. They filmed on different days. So there's no frame when Ben Affleck and Jared Leto are in it together, just staring each other down. And also it's just kind of Joker and Batman monologuing about this future world. Their hostility within this scene doesn't feel right. And Joker doesn't get to say his, "We live in a society where honor is a distant memory." He doesn't get that line in this film, which bugs me because now that I've seen the whole conversation, that is the best line. But regardless, I'm glad they brought Jared Leto back and gave him another chance to be the Joker. I'm still an advocate for David Ayer's cut of Suicide Squad. I really want to see that. And then that leads into Bruce waking up. So it's another kind of dream premonition, and meeting Martian Manhunter. Again, that scene felt weird. Didn't feel right. Mainly because you can tell Ben Affleck shot this in reshoots. He's a lot skinnier than he was. So physically, Bruce doesn't look like Batman anymore. He just looks like a regular chap. He's not got that bulked physique that he had in Batman vs Superman. So that's my only criticisms of this film, is the epilogue. Just cut the epilogue, we didn't need it. But that being said, I am so happy with this film. It feels like a superhero epic, it feels like an odyssey, a real kind of journey. It doesn't feel like a studio film. It feels in line with Zack Snyder's Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman. And it feels cohesive as a narrative. It brings in these new characters and develops old characters in a way that is establishing this kind of beautiful tapestry of interweaving narratives ready for a future film. I just really hope we get to see it. But please let me know what you guys thought in the comments. I'm very intrigued because a lot of reviewers are saying a lot of different things. So any different opinions or takes on it would be lovely to hear. And let's keep going with the Restore the Snyderverse movement. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, guys. Have a nice day.